Before we go anywhere today, I want you to bring one thing to your mind. The area of your life where you feel tension, the thing you maybe keep circling about, you've tried to fix it, push through it, make it work, but deep down you know that something isn't right. What if the breakthrough you've been praying for is on the other side of your surrender? Welcome back to the podcast, my friend, to Your Reinvention Era. I'm so excited to get into this powerful conversation with you. I recently gave this podcast as a live talk, and it was super powerful. And if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm waving my white flag of surrender as we speak. Today, we are going to be talking about moving from struggle to surrender and why this is your strategy for your reinvention season. Are you ready to get into this? Let's go. Most of us have been taught the opposite of surrender. We have been taught don't quit, don't give up, keep going, push harder, whatever it costs you. And that sounds strong, right? That sounds good, but there's a line. And many high achieving men and women don't realize when they've crossed it, when supposed strength turns into self-abandonment. You're not stuck because you're not strong. Clearly, you're strong. You have so much evidence of strength in your life, but you may be stuck because you've been strong staying in the struggle, staying in the wrong direction for too long. Maybe you've been operating from some core limiting beliefs that sound something like this. If I just try harder, it will work. If I just stay longer, it will change. If I prove myself, I will finally feel worthy. Now, if that sounds familiar, my friend, you are not alone. These were some of my core limiting beliefs as well. And this is what it cost me, and this is what it's costing you. Your peace, your identity, your energy, your creativity, your opportunity, your list goes on and on. So today I want to introduce you to a different type of strategy. And let me just preface this by saying it may feel very uncomfortable, but it's actually where your freedom begins. Let's talk about where this white flag concept came from. Now, historically, the white flag didn't come from weakness. It dates back to ancient China and then later the Roman Empire, where it was used in war as a signal of truce. When soldiers raised a white flag, it meant stop the fighting, lay down the weapons, choose preservation over destruction. And it wasn't about surrendering their lives. It was about ending a battle that no longer made sense to fight. I'm going to repeat that. Waving the white flag of surrender was about ending a battle that no longer made sense to fight. And that's what so many of us need to do in our lives. Stop fighting for relationships that are breaking us, stop forcing things that aren't aligned, and stop waging war against ourselves. Because surrender is not the end, it's often the beginning of your reinvention. It's where you find clarity, peace, and that alignment starting point. So I want to share with you what's actually happening in your brain and body when you resist surrender. When you stay in this fight mode, when you keep trying to prove, to push, to force, your brain shifts into survival. Specifically, your amygdala or your fear center takes over. Your body doesn't know the difference between emotional stress and physical danger, so it responds in the exact same way. Your nervous system activates into fight or flight, your cortisol rises, adrenaline stays elevated, and your brain literally deprioritizes the prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of your brain that is responsible for your clear thinking, your decision-making, your emotional regulation, and your identity-based change. All the things that you are doing on your reinvention journey are required by that prefrontal cortex. So when you stay stuck, confused, or reactive, it's not because you don't know what to do. It's because your brain is in survival mode. And survival mode is not where alignment lives. My last episode was all about the power of alignment. I want you to go back and listen to it because it was extremely clarifying when it comes to the word alignment. And alignment is necessary for you to step into this next best version of yourself. But here's what happens when you do surrender. This is where everything shifts. When you wave that white flag internally, when you go from this state of resistance to a state of letting go, when you release that resistance instead of gripping tighter, your nervous system begins to regulate. you move into what is called a parasympathetic state. How I like to remember this is parasympathetic equals peace, okay? Your sympathetic equals stress. Where you want to live on a regular basis is in your parasympathetic state. This is where you're going to be showing up in alignment, where you're going to be grounded, where you're going to make good decisions. You're going to be in a creative mode. You rest, restore, and receive in this state of mind. Your breathing slows, your heart rate stabilizes, your body begins to feel safe again. And neurologically, your brain literally comes back online. Your prefrontal cortex re-engages, your thinking expands, and your intuition, that beautiful gut instinct that you were given by God, becomes accessible again. This is why alignment feels peaceful. You feel grounded even before your circumstances change. Why? Because internally, you are no longer in the fight. You are no longer waging war against yourself. You are no longer in this internal state of struggle. Now let's talk about the subconscious mind and your identity and alignment. Here's what most people don't understand. Your subconscious mind runs on patterns. So the more you operate from struggle, the more your brain wires that as quote unquote normal. But when you choose surrender, when you choose alignment, you interrupt that pattern. And pattern interruption is necessary for change, for transformation. And this is what is called neuroplasticity. It's the ability of your brain to change and to create new neural pathways, aka new beliefs that you then get to live from. And you've heard me say this before, your thoughts or your beliefs become things. This is why it's very important for us to constantly observe what we are thinking and how our thinking is impacting our feelings, how our feelings are impacting our actions, and how our actions are impacting our results. We are completely responsible for that. In radical responsibility is where we regain our power. And this begins when we change our beliefs, when we change our thinking through neuroplasticity. You are literally rewiring your brain to feel safe and peace, to trust yourself again, to expect alignment instead of chaos, and to ultimately embody a new identity. Because from the new identity is how you're going to be able to sustain the change that you are making. And from that place, your actions will change, your standards and your decisions will all change. Your results will follow, my friend. And I want to bring the faith perspective into this for a moment, because like you've heard me say before, we are body, mind, soul, and spirit. We are a cohesive unit of those four components that make us who we are. And I talk about this scripture a lot because it is one that is on my mind constantly. And it is so powerful when it comes to how we think and how we act and ultimately how we show up in life. Scripture talks about being double-minded. This is a scripture in James. And neurologically, this looks like internal conflict. One part of you is trying to trust God. Another part of you is gripping in fear. One part wants alignment. One part is attached to control. Do you see how this is creating contrast? And that split creates instability. But surrender brings integration. It aligns your thoughts, your body, your emotions, and your faith. And that's where you become a single-minded, powerful person, my friend. Surrender doesn't just free your mind, but it frees your body as well. And I know this very deeply because this was my experience for most of my adult life. I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios where I was gripping in struggle and this false sense of strength instead of surrender. And when I chose to step into surrender in these 3 areas of my life, things began to align. It wasn't immediate, but it was the starting point. It was the first domino to many different dominoes that led me into an aligned space where I am today. I was the woman who didn't know how to let go. I stayed too long in a destructive marriage, telling myself if I just love harder, if I just try more, if I just keep going, if I just put my head down and keep pushing through. I held on to a business that wasn't working, forcing it, proving it, trying to press forward when there were clear signs that it was no longer meant to be. And underneath these 2 areas of my life, I had this core limiting belief. I want you to lean in, my friend, because this may resonate very deeply with you. I believed that my worth came from what I produced, from how much I could carry, from how much I could endure. But here's the truth I had to face. I wasn't being strong. I was actually abandoning myself for the sake of a false sense of self-worth. And when I began to understand that, when I stepped away from the marriage, when I closed the business, when I laid down this limiting belief, things began to shift. It was the moment where I metaphorically waved my white flag of surrender. It was the moment that I said, I'm no longer fighting, I no longer need to prove, and I no longer need to force. And more importantly, in this process, I decided to choose me, not from a selfish place, but from a place of self-respect, of self-love, of self-care, and of self-worth. And the irony is, my friend, when you begin to choose yourself from this place that's not selfishness, you actually increase your capacity to show up authentically for other people. It's no longer people-pleasing and codependent and this false sense of control. From this authentic place of surrender, of choosing you in self-worth, self-love, self-compassion, you get to show up for others in the very best way. I like to use this analogy with my clients that you are responsible for the tending of your own garden. God gave you that responsibility. And in that responsibility, I want you to picture this beautiful garden that's tended to. The roses are bright and blooming, and there's so much life. There's so much color in that garden. When you ignore that garden, what happens? There's this natural law called entropy, where you don't put effort into something, it will naturally disintegrate and be destroyed. The same thing is true with you, my friend. When you don't cultivate your garden with self-worth, with self-love, self-respect, self-esteem, your garden starts to die. But it is your responsibility to cultivate that. And from that place, when your garden is at full capacity, other people can enjoy its beauty, its growth, its fulfillment. This, my friend, is the winning formula. And it begins with surrender. I want to give you 3 mindset shifts that you get to put on, that you get to try on right now that are very powerful. And when I say put on or try on, I want you to picture you going into a dressing room and trying on these new beliefs like you would a new outfit. This is where you get to see what fits and what doesn't, and you get to take these and modify them as needed. I want to offer you these new beliefs as you start out this process of surrender. Number 1, surrender is my starting place. It's not the last resort. It's not the thing I do when everything falls apart, but surrender is really where I begin. And in the beginning of this episode, I asked you to think about one thing that you are not surrendering, one thing that has a grip on you. When you continue to go back to this one thing, I want you to think about this mindset shift. Surrender is my starting place. It will remind you, your mind, body, soul, and spirit, that you no longer have to white knuckle and control, but you can open those palms, let go, and allow surrender to be your starting place. And this isn't from fear or pressure. It is from your new aligned state, from your new reinvented self. Shift number 2, surrender is my source of strength. Strength is not found in how long you can endure what is misaligned. In my example, I gave you of my marriage, of my business, of that mindset that was no longer serving me. Strength is found in your willingness to release what is no longer right. And when you surrender, you will regulate your nervous system, you'll come back into your body, you'll access clarity, wisdom, and creativity. And my friend, this is not weakness. This is self-leadership. This is increasing your emotional capacity. This is your personal source of power. And shift number 3, surrender is my decision that I no longer have to struggle. Struggle is not a requirement for your growth. Suffering is not proof of your worth. Surrender, on the other hand, is the moment you get to decide, I'm no longer choosing resistance. I'm no longer choosing misalignment. I'm no longer choosing to fight for what I know isn't for me. And from that decision, you get to start shifting. You get to start changing. You get to start growing because your brain is no longer wired for survival. It becomes available for expansion. Your body is no longer braced for chaos, but it becomes open to receiving. And then your life begins to reflect that choice. I've seen this over and over again. Men and women who finally let go, who wave their white flag in the area or areas that they have been gripping so tightly. And what happens? They don't lose everything. They actually find themselves. They experience peace. They feel more confident and they step into alignment. This is their reinvention, and it can be yours too. So let me ask you this as we close. Where in your life are you being asked to wave the white flag? Is it a relationship? Is it a business? A belief about yourself that you no longer want to think? A version of you that you've outgrown? Because that thing that you're holding on to might be the very thing that's holding you back. And if you're in that space right now where you know something has to change, I want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. In fact, you are going to be that much more powerful doing it in a community where everyone is also doing this work individually and collectively. And inside the Reinvention Room, we walk through things like identity and confidence, boundaries, and stepping into your next chapter. And for those who are ready to go even deeper and faster and want more one-on-one attention in these areas and condense what has felt like years of struggle into weeks and months of actual results, I want to offer that private coaching and mentoring is for you. But regardless of if those are options or not, this is your moment. Waving your white flag isn't the end, my friend. It's the moment where you stop abandoning yourself. It's the moment where you choose alignment, and it's the moment where you begin your powerful reinvention. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. If this was helpful, if you enjoyed it, if you had some really tangible takeaways, please leave me a review. I would love to see what you have to say and how this impacted you. And please share this with a friend, with a bestie, with a colleague, somebody in your life who you think could benefit from waving that white flag of surrender and really starting from their own strength, no longer believing that we have to strive in order to be successful. That's the old way. The new strategy is surrender, my friend. I'm so grateful you were here. I just love having these conversations with you. I cannot wait to see you next week. And until then, your reinvention is as good as done. I believe in you. I love you. Let's do this. I want to share something I've been building. It's called the Reinvention Room, and it's a founder-level private coaching membership for high-achieving men and women who are ready to consciously step into their next chapter. We meet twice a month for live group coaching. This isn't about fixing yourself or starting over. It's about exploring who you're becoming now and having the right room to support that evolution. If something inside you lights up as you hear this, I invite you to trust that. You can find all the details and apply through the link in the show notes. I'll see you inside the room.